we can go ahead and bring them up to speed. So call the meeting to order at 6:33 on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024. I guess we can go ahead. There should be a copy of the minutes that I attached. I'm sorry I didn't get them to you earlier. My printer computer, I guess my computer is just not allowing me to forward attachments for whatever reason. So anyway, I'd give you a chance to look at those real quick and see if you can notice any corrections. And I guess Brian's not going to be able to see those. Can you see that okay?
Did you leave that door open?
I think.
Let me. Oh, never mind. I can do it right here if you didn't.
You can.
I think you left it open.
Yeah, I flipped
Yeah.
it up. That's all. And I didn't.
Yep,
do that.
it's open.
He knows. So anyway, just seeing, I'm quite sure I've got everything involved in that. If you want, Brian, I can read the minutes to you, or are you good?
No, that's you're good. I don't need to read. I don't need to hear.
Spelling error, but other than that.
Spelling error. Well, that's not.
Yeah.
I don't get to vote on them anyhow, so it doesn't matter to me.
What error did I make?
Number 4, I'm not even sure what the word is to the council.
Committee
Project and plans to present the biz.
Bid. Supposed to
Oh,
be bids.
bids. That's supposed to be bids. I'm so good catch. Okay. Just for what it's worth, I couldn't spell cat if you spotted me a K. So, okay, I guess you and I. Okay, I'll second, and the minutes approved as corrected.
He should be here in about 15 minutes, Nate Pack.
Okay, so I would like for him to be here for everything we have here if we can. So if we want to talk about something else while waiting for him, I'm all for that.
Who are we waiting for? Who are
Nate
we-
Pack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, for him to be here. So,
Yeah, he said he should be here in about.
okay.
He said
don't
working on it, should be there in 15 minutes.
Sure
I don't
thing.
see that we have any public comment.
No, not too often that we have much.
So do you want me to give any updates on anything that's not on the agenda?
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Okay.
Oh,
What
I
do you
have a
want an
question
update on?
too.
Yeah. Ask me what you want updates on and I'll,
Maybe
just as a
maybe
discussion.
how about the pile at the mailboxes? As council, we're getting quite a few calls about that, and of course I direct them to the October 8th council meeting where
Which is right.
Larry Myler, the developer, told us that he would be piling dirt there. Because he owns that property. People are mostly asking, one, is there a permit for that? And 2, is there a SWIP plan? And if they wanted to see that, would they talk to you?
They could. Yes, there's both a permit and a SWIP plan. Mitch, who does Hilburn, who does all our SWIP stuff, he's the one who reviewed the SWIP, an approved SWIP plan, which is part of their larger development SWIP plan that includes that property. So, yep, there's both. And yeah, essentially they're just stockpiling dirt that will be used in the project. And it'll all go away again.
Is that like, are they excavating out from the lake or where's that coming from?
Yeah, it's coming from that pond area up there, and it's really good material, so they don't want to haul it off
I
and
didn't notice that.
bring it back. So
Wheelbarrow.
they're saving it all and then crushing it, and they'll use it in the project. So they're
Yeah.
just
I remember him
stockpiling it.
talking about that at one of the council meetings, so it may have been one of the ones.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
October 8th. That's what I direct people to.
Yeah,
if
I mean,
they're
so
interested.
I get it. It's unfortunate. Go
Did
ahead.
they put in their permit? Have they already permitted for the crusher and screening?
Well, technically, yes.
Okay.
It's not a separate permit for that.
Yeah, I was wondering if it all was included in the one
Yeah.
permit.
It's an excavation permit and a SWIP plan. That's really
Okay.
our situation. We don't have anything else.
And on the SWIP plan, what is required with that? Because it doesn't look like, I mean, usually you see some fabric barrier around or something, and there doesn't appear to be any noticeable
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to ask
anything.
Mitch.
So just
Mitch,
maybe
yeah.
something to when you give the report to the council next, maybe that would be helpful.
Oh, I'm not. I'll let Mitch do it. The SWIP
Well,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
How much of that, I mean, I know where the, like, conveyor, and they got some, I don't know if they've got a crusher over there or not, but it looks like they got at least a conveyor over up on the hillside a little bit. That's all gonna be in Salem City. How much of that actual pile there now is within Woodland Hills' limits, and how much of, where's kind of the.
All of it's in
border
Woodland
between
Hills right now.
Woodland Hills and Salem particularly.
Yeah, about all of it right now, that pile is in Salem, that one again, or in, sorry, Woodland Hills, all of it. Yeah, it goes back, you know where the mailboxes kind of curve around right there. So if you kind of draw a line off there, that's kind of about where the city border is. So it's all in Woodland Hills, and they did apply for an excavation permit, and they submitted their SWIP plan that was reviewed by our SWIP guy. And so they walked all the right steps to do what they're doing. And I mean, it's their property, and as long as they follow our requirements, I mean, we really can't stop them. I know it's tough for people to see when, they don't like the field going away and the big pile of dirt, but progress, huh?
Well, and
I
there
keep
are
getting
people who are
reminded
worried
by,
that it's just a big road that's going in there, right? And I think that on that October 8th meeting, he said, no, I'm just temporarily storing it. We'll crush it and use it for other things in the project,
yep,
but not necessarily a road base. It would at that location. That's just a storage, temporary storage.
that's all that is. Stuck called stockpiling. That's all they're
Mhm.
doing, is just stockpiling material. Yeah. It's a lot of good stuff, so they don't want to, which, makes sense from a developer aspect. Tough to see, but yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people get upset when they see that kind of stuff going on, and I get it. I got a house being built 2 lots away from me. Now I'm mad. No, I shouldn't say mad. I don't like seeing that happen because we've been used to the open hillside. But then every time I bring stuff up, Lori Thomas, who works here, reminds me that they were the third house in town, and we're all encroaching on her open space. So,
Yep. Yeah.
yeah. So it's just part of what happens. We did get something else that's not on the. I was going to kind of bring this up with everybody, but I don't know how much I should talk about Three Bridges without Larry being around.
There now.
Yeah, well, I'm going to bring it up to Dave because and I know this has been kind of a controversy point. That's why I'm wondering whether to bring it up now or not. So one of the things that's Three Bridges, and this has been talked about in city council, so it's not anything that's like not been talked about. Larry's brought it up. So one of the things they've talked about doing is where Salt Shed sits. They would like to have that property for their golf course maintenance stuff. And in doing that, they would rebuild us a salt shed on another piece of property, which I'm excited about because we need a new salt shed. That one's crappy. And I know people are wondering why we're giving up a salt shed to the developer. Well, it's not really giving one up. We're getting a new one.
We're getting in kind.
In kind,
Yeah.
basically, only we get a new salt shed out of it. Yeah. So they've been working on that. And what I want to talk to Dave about is they kind of give me, which I forgot to grab out of my office, just a basic layout of what it would look like. But it would have bays in it too. So now we can have a place for our snowplows instead of here. We can put them where the salt actually is, and the equipment that would be related to snow removal all in one location. Kind of
Did
free
they
up some of the
purchase
space here.
the land and build the salt shed?
Mhm. Yeah, and it would be a value for value. We'd have to look at the values, right? The trade values, because if they're going to purchase land and build salt shed, then obviously they're not going to want to. They're going to want us to exchange land, basically. They'll
Mhm.
buy the land over here, and then they'll trade us this land for this land.
If we end up with, let's just make the math easy, we get $1 million worth of value there, and our upgrade is $1.5 million. What's the disposition of that extra $500,000?
Well, that's a great question. And I think if it's what has been talked about so far is value for value. So whatever the value is, we get in return the value. Any upgrades that we ask for, the city would have to cover. Now, I think there's going to be a point where they're just going to, if the value of that building's whatever, 100,000 and the value of a new building is 150,000, they'll probably just cover that as as part of building us something else somewhere else for the inconvenience of it. Right. But
Mhm.
so, but we're still in the very high level discussions.
Talking millions of dollars difference, not thousands of
Yeah.
dollars difference. So,
There's a lot of, I mean, there's been nothing that has been done in writing, no agreements, no handshakes. It's all been just high level discussions.
along those lines,
Mark, can you get closer to the microphone? I
Oh,
can't hear you. I apologize.
I certainly can. My apologies. One thought I had when we were discussing, when I say we, when he was presenting it in the council meeting, we talked about the a tax value added for some of the properties they're going to put in there. And how do we calculate that and moving
You
forward?
can't.
Maybe,
I have checked on that, and he said that they would give some tax value
Well-
off of the hotels there.
And they redirected that.
And
They
it's-
can't give tax value.
They
right?
can't.
But
What-
what they would do is they would charge a fee, so to speak, that would then in return come to Woodland Hills.
I did check on
Some
that,
measure,
and
but I don't know.
it's not legal to do.
my first thought when we were talking about that here a couple
Yeah.
of months back was, yeah, that looked like it was going to be a tough one to do.
Yeah,
But maybe we just take
Can't.
that value and say, okay, well, we'll trade you the value that we talked about here for completion of the salt shed, if there in fact is a, large monetary
Yeah.
difference, which I expect there would be.
Yeah.
That was just a thought I had when you guys were talking about that, the other night, a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also, well, there's a couple of things
Well-
with that you can't take a fee from one city and dedicate it to another city. That's what's against the law, or tax,
Okay.
whichever it's going to be. And the other thing is you can't, as a developer who isn't going to own the property, you can't hold them for future allocations. That whoever ends up owning that property would be the one that would decide if and when they were going to do something. But that the development agreement is between Salem, not Woodland Hills.
So there's a couple of ways we've been talking about doing this, not just a straight fee. So for example, our stormwater leaves our city and runs into their property, right? So what we're working on is some ways for them to handle our stormwater. This is the stuff that flooded down in Salem 5 years ago, and the county got sued and basically approached us and said, we will cover the cost of this lawsuit this time, but next time you guys are going to bear the cost of it because it was your water that flooded these homes. So part of that discussion is them handling our stormwater, for example, through basins and stuff like that. But yeah, look at some values in exchange for the salt shed. And there's other things that have been in discussions, getting value out of it, not, I shouldn't say direct compensation, but value out of the project that benefits us. Otherwise, we have to build a basin, right? And if they'll build it and handle the stormwater, great. And we get ongoing value from that.
Which they can probably build it cheaper than we can, because
Yeah.
they're already doing it anyway.
Yeah. So those are some of the value discussions we're having. They're very high level right now. There's not even dollars have been talked about really, other than just ideas. So it's pretty high level still. I don't know. Anything else you're curious about? Yeah. Yeah. So we've met with the county, the Salem, Woodland Hills, the county, the developer, all met and talked about that roundabout, because it's actually the county owns the roundabout. It's not a city roundabout, and that is a county road. Even being in Woodland Hills, up to the roundabout's county, right? And up to and including the roundabout's county road. The county and what the traffic information is saying is that the smartest place to access their development from this side. Now, this will be one of two accesses. So it's not like we're going to have all the traffic for that development. In fact, we'll probably have the least of the amount of homes that would access it through the roundabout. But their preference is that this access come off the roundabout. Otherwise, because it keeps traffic flow much better. Otherwise, the next stop down will become some sort of four-way or probably a stoplight is what it would be, because It'd be a four-way right now, but eventually would be a stoplight. The county's already said they're looking at stoplights down at, that 8,000.
Mhm.
They're looking at, because of all the wrecks down there, they're looking already at stoplights there, and traffic, uh, engineering and all that kind of studies tell you that when you go with one type of traffic control on a street, you stay with that traffic control. So in other words, you don't put four-way stop and then stop lights and then four-way stop. You stay consistent. So if there's stoplights going down there, likely what would be up here would be stoplights. So you'd come out of the roundabout, head down the hill and hit stoplights. And then you would go about another half block and hit more stoplights. And it's just a traffic nightmare with that. So, I mean, so we've met with them. I think and the best access is probably off the roundabout. But to do that, they do have to buy that mailbox property, or in exchange for more value or whatever we decide there. There's, like I said, it's pretty high level, but they do have to have that property to get access off the roundabout that way. So that leg, because there's not room on the roundabout for a fifth leg. So basically the leg that feeds the mailbox now would have to be the one that be arranged a little differently, but go to the development. So they have to relocate our mailboxes as
They
well.
do not own the property that the mailboxes are on.
No,
That is city
that's city property.
Mhm.
So they would have to buy it from us. But the talk is, once again, because our mailboxes right now are out of space. We have no more space in the mailboxes for residents. And so we have to do something there anyway, for our growth. And so the discussions are, yeah, well, they'll find some property, build us some more mailboxes and bigger, and give us more room for capacity and stuff like that. So, yeah. And they've been really, I mean, they've been good to work with. They've been wanting to make sure that what they do doesn't, as much as they can, minimizes the impact and gives us value in some way out of it as well. So, um, which saves us in the long run, saves us money, because our salt shed's not great. Would have to be rebuilt at some point. The mailboxes are out of space, so in fact, we should be adding to those now, and that's all money that if we get someone, value to do that for us, then that's money we don't have to spend, or our taxpayers don't have to spend.
Mhm.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Any other items you want me to,
Yeah, any other items that you want to bring up? I mean, do you want to maybe talk about our new employee?
oh yeah, could talk about, so we hired a new, for those of you who don't know. So Zach Stones has been working for us, we'll say 3/4 time, and has for several years. Worked for the city while he's been going to school. He's graduating school this month, as an RN. So he's going to go to work full time in his career. And so we're losing Zach. So we hired a new full-time public works employee, Toby Shalowski, something like that. I keep thinking of Monster Inc. when I say his last name. Anyway, we went through an interview process, interviewed several people. Toby lives in town. He sold his business. He's a little bit of he's probably a couple years younger than me. So I don't want to say old because I'm old, but he's a little youngerish than me. But he is a go-getter. I mean, the guy's got lots of energy. He's no physical limitations. He started full-time. So when we were doing the chipping, he came to work for us just as kind of a seasonal guy to help with the chipping. And then when we finished that up, he started full-time for us yesterday.
Cool.
So he now works full-time for us. He'll be our full-time employee. He's right now kind of training with Zach, because Zach will be done here in a couple of weeks. So he's training with Zach right now to learn all the things that Zach was doing. But the guy's done so far. When he was doing the chipping, he got great reviews from Lance. It's just a hard worker, goes at it. I mean, I don't think our public works shop down here I don't think it's been cleaner in the last 10 years than it is now. And he's only been working on it a couple days.
Then title Assistant Public Works Director, or what do you?
Public Works
Public
employee.
Works
Yeah,
employee.
just Public Works employee. He'll be doing like all the field stuff. So he goes out, he'll do all the meter readings and set meters. He does a lot of the water sampling that we're required to do. He'll be doing that he has to do that under my direction, but
We are going to talk about him getting a certificate, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I was just waiting.
If not, I gotta start going to some classes to get some CEUs.
Yeah.
It's just not on top of my list of things I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was going, I don't blame you. I was going through all the well stuff with him yesterday. And so he's a great guy. Like I said, he sold a business. He's retired from that. And now just looking to keep himself busy. And is doing a great job. So
That's terrific.
we
Well,
got
we
a
needed someone.
got a really good deal on him because we were looking for kind of an entry level.
Mhm.
And I would say he's more than entry level. He's new to public works, but his work ethic and just the way he picks up on stuff is a lot more than entry level.
That's great.
And we got him for entry level cost, basically. So,
Then he's working full time.
mhm,
So he is a benefited employee.
mhm. Yep. And we need a full-time guy. It's just too much. So, doing a
And
great job.
What was the business that he had? What kind of business was it?
Company that made dental implants.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I'm remembering that now. I didn't
I can see
correlate that
how
was the
that,
same guy.
I can see how
So that
that,
translates to public works.
I can see the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. He started the company in, I think it was around 1990-ish and owned it for many, many years. And it was going to the digital age and just, he wasn't interested in doing that. And he had an employee that was and had been basically doing this digital stuff. So he just sold it out to that employee. And now he's just looking to keep busy until he's ready to retire.
Right.
So I got to talk him into join the fire department. That's the next trick,
Yeah, that's right.
since he's in town full time. Well, I don't know. Nate was it was 6:31 when he said he was
25, almost 23 minutes out. Responded.
well, actually it's probably about 6:35. I texted at 6:31 and then so he's probably 20 minutes or so since he responded. But
I think I just heard a door open.
oh.
How long has he lived in Woodland Hills?
About a year now. He built down off Northview Circle.
Oh.
In fact, I did the final inspection on his house for fire sprinklers when they built it. Was it Northview or was it Maple Ravine?
It's in that off of Loafer.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's Maple Ravine. I think it's Northview, but I'm not sure. It may have been Maple Ravine. Maybe it's Northview. I can't remember. One of those two cul-de-sacs right there. But
Yeah, that's right there off the road.
Mm.
Great, that's,
We're getting our stormwater management plan on the agenda. So it wasn't. The stormwater management plan is got the final version of that today. No, not today. Sorry, a couple weeks ago. So this was a project that we did with all our stormwater over our big view of our stormwater runoff and how it's impacting downstream communities and all that kind of stuff. That's been finalized. I have a meeting with the engineer tomorrow just to kind of wrap things
Now,
up
is
with
that
him.
with the county and Salem Hills, or, yeah, Salem City as well?
It was
Or is it just us?
just us. It was a project this is a project we got some separate FEMA money for to do a stormwater management plan. It looked at all our stormwater runoff, where we should be looking at basins to detain it before it gets into Salem, what we can do inner city to help with some of our drainage improvements, and
mhm.
same with Loafer Canyon. We're sending drainage off into Loafer Canyon that we need to figure out how to detain and stuff like that. So it was kind of that study that gave us all those that information, told us what the impacts are, where the basins should be, how big they should be, that kind of stuff. And the goal of some of these we may have to do ourselves, but as some of this, because some of these basins are planned or the locations they looked at it in the planning was down towards the bottom of just before you go into the field area, I'll call it, kind of the bottom where the hills end, the fields start, kind of right there in a couple of drainages. And so as that develops, we can maybe work with developers to build these basins.
Yeah, and they can be little parks or whatever
Mhm.
put in.
Hey, Nate.
Okay,
Okay, hey, Nate, we kind of, in the agenda here, we've already did the approval of the minutes. and public comment, we didn't have any. So we actually are,
Popular
skipping ahead to
crowd
other items to, kind of fill some time in. He's kind of updated us on our new employee and a couple other things. But one thing I failed to put on the agenda, and so I'm going to go ahead and cover that under other items. And since we're already there, I may just go ahead and bring that up now. But we've got everybody here that's going to be here, I guess. Dave will show up in a few minutes. You were looking at a funding application for the water line. Is there any more updates on that?
So we did submit the funding application to replace 2.5 miles of water line. It was not granted or awarded.
So we did not get it.
We did not get the funding.
They said, make sure you do it again next year.
Yeah.
I got a call just a couple days ago saying, we really like the proposal. Make sure you have it on your list to be ready when we say.
It was through Burgess Owens' office, and what was there?
You had 24 hours.
We had
to,
basically
Yep.
24 hours to turn around, and there was like 80
Crazy.
applications or something like that that
Mhm.
ended up doing it. And I think there was a
Crazy.
lot that went to rural communities. From
Yeah.
what I was hearing. So we have a little bit of a challenge here
We're
with
a rural
that.
community in a non-rural area.
We are, the way it's always worded is we're what does Kerry say, a fourth class city and a second class county or something like that.
Fifth class city.
Fifth class city and second
county.
county. So,
So it makes it really hard for fifth class.
and
city.
our, a lot of times what they look at when they start awarding funding to communities is what they call your median adjusted gross income. And ours is pretty high.
Yeah.
So basically what they're saying is your residents can afford to do this yourselves, which it truly, when you don't have any commercial or industrial tax base, is very difficult. We've got,
And water
right
has to
now-
play for water, and so it makes it really hard.
just in water and roads alone, we've got roughly 11 to 12 million dollars worth of work that needs to be done. And how do you do that when your total annual budget's $2 million and most of that goes for, you got to
Magi for water is 1.7%. Do you know off the top of your head?
Magi for water is if you had asked me this before I left Jones and Mill, I could have told you right off the top of my head, no problem. It might be 1.7.
Yeah, we can use that as a number. And what that means is, or everybody that may or may not know this, means that residents of the community involved in the water project can afford to pay 1.7% of their average income of the community for water. And that being said, we have a pretty good high Magi in this town.
Mhm.
It ain't because of me, I'll just say that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
have
so- And so that was part of the challenge we come up with when we did the
Yep.
first water project.
Mhm.
So it really means that, based on our income, we could probably afford a $500 a month water bill before we start looking at.
Yeah. I think our median adjusted gross income here is like 83 or 86,000. So if you took that, I think it's 1.75.
175 of
I think so. So if you
80,000,
took 86,000 times 1.75%, and then divide that by 12, that's how much they say our residents can afford in a monthly water bill, which I don't know what that number is.
yeah, I'm coming out with about $300, $350.
So,
That's what I'm coming up
That's
with.
for base. That's not even the tiered, because every
well, it's the average water bill, so it
Right.
includes both.
That's not what I come up with.
base
Yeah.
water bill.
So it would be, it's $125 a month is what they say we can afford. Our average water bill right now is like $90. So we'd have to raise our water bill because we have a $78 base. And then on top of that, people probably pay on average about another $20 to $30 a month.
Mhm.
So you're looking at maybe $90 to $100. So we'd have to raise our water bill another $25 to $30 before they would even consider us for grant money.
And that's only for the 2.5 mile, not for the entire city, because we had it divided up into phases. And so we raised it for the first phase, but
Right,
that
and
doesn't cover
and
the
then
whole
we'd have to
town.
raise it again. So,
Yeah. Anyway, so
Snowplow.
that's where we have a bit of a challenge is when we're looking at funding. It's not that we can't get funding, but it would be all loan money.
I mean, I think we all expected to, or are expecting to have an increase in our water rates. I mean, that's something that we've been talking about since we actually had the last one, 4 years ago now? It's gone quick. So,
Yeah, about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be raising these every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
We don't, and we're not
Yeah.
keeping up. And we've got in water line alone, about $8 million worth of work to do. And right now we're on very borrowed time on the water lines that need to be replaced. The average life of ductile iron pipes, 50 years. We're 50 plus on this pipe. So we're,
I think one of the other advantages we have working for us is our growth, because we had a pretty good spike in growth, so that helped
Yeah.
offset some of those increases.
Yeah.
So, Dave, we just kind of went to other items while we were waiting for everybody to get here, so we just kind of completed other items. We talked about the new employee, water line, a little bit about what Three Rivers is doing. I think now that we're all here, we can probably go ahead, and we've already approved the minutes and public comments, so I say, let's go ahead and jump back in, unless there's some other items, I should ask that first. Let's go ahead and just jump right into item number 4, well update.
got it underway. The well project's underway. And right now we're basically in that reviewing submittal phase. Contractor's been up there. They did install all the conduit for the 3-phase power. So the conduit work's done. They have, they've been up there and done measurements, but right now they're ordering their electrical equipment. We're reviewing the submittals and ordering electrical equipment. They're fabricating the pipe and getting that equipment ordered. So it's kind of not a lot of action up right now. Right now, we're just kind of reviewing all their material that they're proposing to use and then getting that ordered and delivered. So it'll probably be another month before there's really a lot of action up there, but it's well underway. So hope to have it on our schedule is to have it done the end of March is their deadline. There is one thing maybe I can just bring up to the Public Works Committee, see what your thoughts are. We've been talking about backup generator up there. So those of you guys may know, there's a basement area in the well. And when this well was initially built, that basement area, it has, 9 tanks in there, something like that?
They were put in recently. There was no tanks in there. when we
Right,
built it.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So there's 9 tanks in kind of we'll call it a basement area of the
We're
well.
talking about 600 square foot maybe in there. If that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And the plan was that these tanks are individual 9, we'll say 9 individual tanks. I can't remember the exact number, but 9 individual tanks. And they each hold diesel fuel. And the idea was twofold. This was under previous planning with a previous employee. The idea was that these tanks would be filled with diesel fuel and would be used for 2 reasons. One, a couple of them would be connected together and then used to feed the backup generator. So right now, to make that work, we have to connect the tanks together. We have to install a pump that will then pump the fuel from the basement up to a day tank, what they call a day tank, up at the generator. So we have to put another tank in up there at the generator itself to pump into and then feed the generator with the diesel fuel. The second idea was that there was a hose reel put in there so you could actually take a vehicle up there that requires diesel and run it out of this basement across. A couple of things came up during design with some challenges with this. Not that it's not outside of the box thinking. One is in order to make these tanks work, there's a dipstick that goes down into them that then allows the water or the fuel to be pumped out. Each one of them has their own individual dip, we'll call it. It's basically a pipe you put down in there that allows the pump to suck the fuel out and pump it up.
Yeah, big manifold.
Big manifold and a hose. You have to manually move that from tank to tank. So in other words, someone would have to be up there watching the tanks if we're in an emergency situation and watching the fuel drop when it got down low, take that dipstick and move it to the next tank. And you'd have to have someone up there doing that almost constantly. And then it has to pump up to this day tank and then into the generator. The second challenge was, how do we fill these tanks when we get a fuel truck up there? So then we have to build a separate fill system to get these tanks full that are down this basement. Not that it can't be done, and they came up with a design to do it. It's just a really
Kind of archaic.
heavy operational intense system. Maybe thought through too much, too much out of the box there. But yeah, not thought, and you're right in the fact that it wasn't thought through to the end. How is this going to work? The idea, I think the concept of getting started maybe was okay, but when you think about the whole thing through, it's like, oh, now we've got to, anyway, typically what is done with these is you put a tank, one big tank outside next to the generator that then just feeds right into the generator. So you've got no pump, you've got no day tank that you have to pump to. And it sits outside where a truck can pull up next to it and fill it. That's typically the way it's done. So in order to do that, it's going to add about, I'm going to say $25,000 to $30,000 to the project. We can go with the design we have, which is the pump in the basement and pump it out to another day tank and all that. And it may not be quite that much, but the cost for the tank to put outside is about $18,000. Now, and then we have to build a concrete pad to put it on and then connect it to the generator. So I know that the tank's about 18,000, whatever it takes cost to build the concrete pad and then hook it up, I don't know, say another 5,000 or 6,000.
Maybe looking at 35,000.
35,000 minus what we would take out of the bid or contract would be that pump and that other stuff that was planned, the day tank, a few things like that. So you probably have 10 or 12,000 come off of that would come out of the bid. So your offset's probably 20, 25,000, let's say. Do you guys think it's worth it?
A couple of questions. How often is the generator being exercised or even used at all?
Well, so it gets exercised once a month.
Okay.
You run it for like an hour once a month. And then is being used is just depends on it's used in a power
How big
outage.
is it? Yeah.
We could have used it this last summer for about 2 weeks because our power went out. We were relying on the booster station down here, which was in some cases during the summer was not keeping up very well. I mean, it was like I was explaining to Toby there, when I was talking to him, I was sitting there at our SCADA computer watching our tank levels drop, even though that booster was pumping as much as it could, just praying to the tank gods that it doesn't empty and everyone runs out of water because there was nothing else we could do. So
Why did the power go off again?
it was when they had that big power outage in southern Utah County, all the way from Nephi to
It was like that.
Say,
I
Spanish
remember that
Fork.
one, but
I don't
it
remember
went off
why it went
once
out.
and we didn't realize that it wasn't pumping, right?
Oh, so that
that
was
why?
actually the opposite. It was pumping. We didn't realize it didn't shut off.
Got it.
But there was another time, you're right, the power outage actually, the 2 weeks down wasn't solely because of the power outage. That was only down a half a day.
There was the pump
The
issue.
pump motor went out.
Yeah.
So we had to pull the motor out.
Well,
Yeah. And that wouldn't have mattered with the
The
generator.
18,000 tank, how long will the fuel in there provide water summer situation?
48 hours. Yeah. Now that's not saying it's going to get us through 2 days, right? Because we pump, depending on the day, 7 to 8 hours. So 48 hours could be 7 or 8 days, 5 days, 7, 8.
And if we
Depends
have
on how much water.
conservation, right,
And if you tell
people
people to stop
realize
outdooring their lawns in case of
Yeah.
emergency.
And
it's hard.
the other thing is
We used to
we
run out
can-
of water all the time and people were pretty good about
we can also bring
Conservation.
fuel trucks in to keep it
Mhm.
going, so we wouldn't be relying on just
Well,
that tank.
depending on the emergency,
Yeah.
can we really get fuel trucks?
And you're right, depends on it. Now, typically, in most cases, your backup generators are designed for 24 hours. That's a pretty standard design, and it even comes with the generators. I asked them to give us 48.
right?
And like I said, that could be 5 days, 6 days, just depending on the
And is
time of
that
year. And
Culinary water, or does that separate the water that we have to have on hand for fire protection? Or is that everything lumped together?
yes,
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I know that we have to have.
it's kind of it's a little bit more detailed
reserve.
question than
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
yeah, I keep the tank at a certain level, and what I keep in the tank is our fire storage.
Right.
Because you're only required to keep storage for fire, not flow out of the well. If that makes sense.
I have one other question. Has it been considered to convert to natural gas at all?
Yeah, that'd be great. And if we had it up there, it would probably, and at some point that might be an option. You can run generators off both natural gas and fuel. We don't have any natural gas in the area, so it'd be fairly, a little expensive to get it up there. But I mean, that's something I think we certainly keep in mind for the future. You want both options because I think in the event of an earthquake, your natural gas could go out,
Yeah.
right? So you never know which one's going to go out. So
Isn't it whatever they're called
Oh, they just changed the
Enbridge.
name. Yeah,
Enbridge.
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 now? their protocol in an earthquake is to shut all their lines off to check for leaks.
Yeah.
So we could be months.
So.
And if there's a fuel shortage, then gas might come in. And they actually make dual fuel generators. Ours is not a dual fuel that we have up there.
That was one of the comments I was just gonna make. Yep, the generator we have is just diesel only. It's not, we'd have to either do a lot of conversion or just simply get another generator to run dual fuel. And number two, just for clarification, that generator currently is not operational. Is that, okay,
Nope.
so right now, we have not been running. That generator's been sitting there for 4 or 5 years and it has not been run. So we may end up with another whole nest of, trouble when we start that generator, and we'll have to wring that out. I would expect that that's not gonna, it's gonna go less than perfect. I'm certain of that. So,
What?
So we all agree that an emergency backup is necessary, but is the debate whether this is the right solution?
Right.
The above ground
We
tank.
add 30,000 to the project, 20,000.
Right.
My mind.
Simplify it, yeah.
I think we do.
Yeah.
we go with what we currently can do with design and operation?
And any other alternative is cost prohibitive.
well,
The natural gas.
one
plant or
thought.
Any
on-
other form of power, period, becomes something a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Do we pull, and I don't know if there's much savings in this, do we just pull the tank portion out of the bid and then just do it in-house ourselves? Is there enough savings there to make that worth considering?
So it's sort of what we're doing, what I've talked to the engineers about, and the great point is we buy the tank, because I don't know that we would have the manpower to set it. But we would buy the tank
Right.
and then we would supply it to the contractor and build the concrete pad.
So there probably not a lot of savings in doing it ourselves at this point, especially if we buy the tank and the material and buy the.
Not
equipment.
enough to change. the
Yeah.
program.
I think the manpower required to do it would be beyond our city
But I mean,
capability.
we just have to contract it out. I think
Yeah.
we would, the only thing we would save is contractor write-up or markup on that. So
Yeah.
I think it's worth it.
I
I'm
agree.
all about it.
I agree.
Because this is going to the city council next week, so I can go with the,
The hard part is finding the money to where this comes from, right? As
Mhm.
council, when we look at things and
Yeah.
there's
So-
just so much there
One
to
other,
bring out.
one other thing, I know that when the council approved the project, there was the road portion of that project that was pretty high. And I think you were able to kind of separate that and save us a lot of money, which thank you.
170,000 is what we
So
said.
that's good
That's
because
amazing.
that was one of the concerns I had when I was listening to that. So there is some savings there that we may be able to use on that. So we'll
Yeah.
save that much money on the road. That's good. And the other thing, getting back to those tanks in the basement, we're literally pouring fuel into tanks
Mhm.
right above our water source. So I mean, that was.
It's a bad idea.
Huh?
It's a bad
It's a
system.
bad-
Yeah.
I said my piece on it when we were doing this, that, I mean, he did put a membrane in there to catch the water, but, as you're pulling that out, every time you do that, it's like pulling your fuel nozzle out of the gas tank, you're gonna get some spillage. So I
Well, we'll
think,
still have a fuel tank there by the water source, just not right in the same
Yeah.
building. And it'll be a double, it's a special, it's tanks they build for
and it'll be
fuel.
double
Double.
wall.
It's double
Double
wall and
wall.
all that kind
So
of
I
stuff.
think that we have
It's a
to,
lot easier to replace.
Yeah.
we have to do something.
And
with the
fill
tanks.
and
Are the
maintain.
tanks?
And I'm
those
also getting them to
existing
hook it up to our
9 tanks?
SCADA so we can watch the fuel level without having to keep going up there and looking in
Yeah.
the tank.
Are the existing 9 tanks worth anything to resell? Like, I mean, you and Brian resell things all the time or?
Which I got a whole nother list for you, Brian,
Yeah.
because I've got another
Are,
idea.
are they the type of thing that somebody
My-
else would buy?
My
That's what I'm
thought on
asking.
that,
There are people that buy any.
my thought on that is the effort we used to put those tanks in. And now we're going to redesign the entire building and then we would have to start cutting pieces out of the building again to take the tanks out.
It
It is just simply not worth the effort to remove those tanks. I don't think we'd ever recover the cost that we spent just to remove them.
So here's one offer I've had
Okay,
from a contractor. I will take those tanks from you and I'll come and get them.
Oh,
if he can do that fast, I would say, let's do it.
I would say, I would agree. I don't think it's worth trying to sell them. I
Yeah.
think if someone's willing to come and get them out of there and take them away.
I-
and not tear down the whole building?
For 5,000, he gives us 5,000.
Yeah, I
Well,
was gonna
yeah.
say there's some down here too, inside
I-
this building.
I would say that, and I would love to talk to him, show him how we got them in, and maybe help him get some of them
Yeah.
out. If somebody will come get them, they're just gonna rust away down there if we don't. I think you mentioned that there is some fuel in the tanks that we would have to get rid of.
About 5,000 gallons of fuel in them.
Yeah, if somebody's willing to come get them, my recommendation would be, let's let them do it, but they need to do it, I think, real soon before the construction gets going in there. Another quick question on this, and then I think we're ready to move on. Where are we at on the road on that? Is that something we were gonna move on first?
So the road got leveled and the road base got put down, and that's as far as they could get before we ran out of temperature.
Okay.
So it's been leveled with road base. They'll come back in the spring and partly not just because of timing, but also as they leveled it and put this down, there were some soft spots. And so the idea was if we let it sit over this winter and get all that moisture and compact and settle, that it'll compact at one, and two, hopefully if there are any of those remaining, we'll be able to easily identify them and fix them and before we put the pavement down. So it was kind of a dual one. We were getting really, but they did get it all leveled out and they put the road base down and then
Who
we
was the
kind of left it.
contractor? Was it Ethel's?
Yeah.
So the contractor can get in and out of there with their.
Yeah, it's glad
And
we
we can make-
separated that.
Basically.
You might need to wait till June or July.
If they'll come in June or July. But
Yeah, they're on the hook. We've got a contract with them. So yeah, I mean, when we get the ultimate time to pave, I mean, we're not really in a rush now. Mainly we just need to get level to a point and road base down to a point to where we could get a contractor up there, keep it somewhat clear during the winter. So they can get access to the well over the winter. We almost got it paved. We actually had some decent, it was when it was where we had that kind of that 50 degrees in November. It was right when they were getting ready to pave, but then we saw the soft spots and we thought, yeah, let's wait. Let's not rush this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jumping back, sorry. To
I
that,
got, I got one more comment on the generator. So it concerns me a little bit with having that much fuel with as little as we use it. Diesel fuel goes bad. And I'm dealing with a generator in one of my plants where the diesel fuel's gone bad, and it actually to repair the generator is going to cost more than a new generator. So I'm a little concerned with having that much fuel in storage. While I agree with the time that we need, and maybe we need to have some way of cycling it out, maybe adding a pump to that where we can fill our trucks with it and we can cycle that fuel. I'm just a little concerned with diesel fuel going bad because it does do that. And I've dealt with it in the past and I'm dealing with it now.
Yeah. Good thought. We can talk to him about it. I know where we've got a pump.
What do we get, about 2 years good storage out of it?
About 2 years. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good, very good point.
And we'll have to see how much the generator uses through exercising it. I don't know right now. I mean, I've designed several of these things over the years, these backup generators for pump stations, but I've never actually operated one for years. You know what I mean? We'd usually do the design of it, initial startup, and then we walk away and turn it over to the owner. So,
And I'm the guy that has to fix it when it sits there for years.
we got the right guy. We got the right guy on board. Then it sounds like.
yeah.
Hey, one other question, just as we're talking about the generators, like what if we negotiated, just said, hey, you pour our pad, you prep it for our new tank, and then you've got the other ones. I mean, at least then we're negotiating and getting some value out of it, right? Because if he's a contractor,
Well, it's not the same contractor. The contractor that's pouring the pad and that and doing the work up there is not the one that wanted the tanks. He doesn't want them.
gotcha. But would he do it? I don't know.
I can ask him. I can ask him. Those,
Couldn't hurt.
yeah. I mean, the labor it's going to take to get those tanks out of there. They're going to be, there's like 9 of those things, and you're talking like a little hole in the floor.
But he
And
clearly
Then
wants
you
It's
gotta
really
go-
hard to put
He's-
them
We
in.
had to take- first
then you
off,
got to
we
go
had
all the way
Yeah.
across the building with them.
They wouldn't fit through the door, so we had to actually remove the door, take the door out and the frame and casing and
Lower
everything.
them.
Then we actually had to put them in horizontal, and
Mhm.
then we got them over the door, over the hole, we had to shift them,
Stand it back up. Yeah.
drop them down, and then shift them back horizontal to center. It ended up,
Sounds like fun.
it was quite, I mean, it was a routine, we got it going pretty good, but it was
Yeah.
a lot of effort. But the thing is we had to take all the, hand railing apart that goes downstairs because it wouldn't clear the hand railing, so we had to remove the hand railing, which we
Yeah.
finally just got back up. And,
It's coming back down.
coming back down anyway, so, yeah,
Yeah.
probably is.
We're putting the right hand.
No,
wheel in.
I'm not arguing
Change.
with the difficulty.
we
I'm
can-
just
I
saying
can
if we-
ask,
If
yeah.
we can get something and save a couple bucks, like,
Yeah.
it just feels like we should, right?
Yeah.
So,
Worth a shot.
Worth a shot. I'll ask him, see if he'll trade us anything for him.
yeah.
At the time, he was like, the contractor is actually our on-call contractor,
Oh.
not the one that's doing the well project. And he was like, he says, I'll take those tanks. If you'll give them to me, I'll come and get them and remove them for you.
I would say, let's check into that, because
Yeah.
we're gonna need to get those tanks out of there eventually anyway. It's probably.
Yeah.
very good
And if
option.
we can.
And
use
I'm
the
not sure he
fuel,
still
like
wants
Ryan
them
said.
because he's not working on he was going to be a sub on the project. He's not no longer a sub. So I don't even know if he'll still want them. We'll find out. But
Perfect. Any other comments on, or anything else on item number 4, the well update? Okay, let's go to item number 5, West Loafer update. Again, Ted.
West Loafer is almost done. They've got the road done, the curbs in. They got the ditch mostly done now. We only had a portion of the ditch on this road. One quick question. So they're nearly done with the project. It'll be turned over to us here
Do we have
soon.
substantial completion?
Not yet.
'Cause that was supposed to
They
happen by the 15th, was it not? Under the contract?
probably I can't remember the exact date, but
Seems like
um,
one.
the only thing they have left to do is put an end section on a culvert, and that may have to wait till spring because to get off the side of the hill right now is going to be difficult. Other than that, they're pretty much done with the project. So I would say they probably easily got substantial by then. We didn't formally give it to them, but that road's been open for what, 2-3 weeks now?
So it's being used.
Being used,
Okay,
yeah.
so
and it's
we're not gonna come back on them for anything.
Yeah. And they've been really good to work with. I got a text from Glenn and Kathy Anderson, who are the ones that were most impacted by the project, and they just gloated about how great it was to work with that contractor.
And
So-
real quick, you mentioned that that was open. I thought it was closed.
Halfway open. Well, okay.
People are using it.
So it was open and we plowed it. Then we closed it while they were working on the ditches because they had all their gravel and were working there. So we closed it. Someone has went and moved everything to one side. So now it's one lane.
Interesting. Okay, just wanted to know. All right.
Are you going to keep it one lane or are you going to open it the whole way? I mean, because that is a little bit rougher.
I didn't move the cones. It wasn't me. Someone, I just caught it I just saw it. It was closed again today because they were working on it again today. And I went down there, so they had it closed again today. But over the weekend, someone moved the cones and they were using it.
It just needs to be closed.
Yeah. And I would agree. I was gone for the weekend. I don't know who moved the cones, but I'm guessing it was residents in the area because they were really excited to have that road open. They still need to put in a stop sign, a street sign too. That's kind of their last little piece. Yeah.
Stop sign will be nice.
Yeah.
I have almost hit it maybe twice now. Someone comes right
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah. If you do, that is, we talked about the sheriff with this because it was a question mark that came up from the residents. They wanted the road open once they saw it was ready to use. Everyone down there wanted it open. So then we went to the sheriff. What does that mean legally by way of stopping here? Because we don't have a stop sign up yet. And he said the law is they have to stop when they come to that main thoroughfare street from a cross street. The law says you stop, whether there's a stop sign or stop bar. I know people don't.
They won't.
But he says, if someone does it and I see him, I can ticket them. And if they do it and get in a crash, it's going to be their fault. Not that that's all.
But
We just
getting
need
a sign
stop
up.
Yep.
Yep.
Do we keep stop signs and some of those things that are
It's part of his,
normal, it's just part of our stash, or do you have to order it?
it's his project. It's the contractor that puts it in.
Contractor has to put that up.
Yeah. And he's already been, when I talked to him about a week ago, he's got a crew that goes around, does these signs. They were either this week or next, they'll have it in. Is what he said. So,
I gotta imagine during our house cleaning, we've had to throw away a dozen stop signs.
they do come up missing around the city occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
Remember a roommate in college who hauled one in, said he got one somewhere.
Probably Woodland Hills. We had 2 missing. So
For the next accident.
That was a long one.
They become the trophies.
we've got 4 speed limit signs I got to go out and replace here in the next week. Huh? 4 speed suggestions.
Okay.
Anyway, so West Loafer's about done. Hopefully the next 2 weeks will be fully open, stop signs,
So
everything.
We may not have to put that on the agenda for next time. Okay. Dave,
We've had 7 plow events, just in case anyone wanted to know.
Cool.
Busy.
And the equipment's working fairly well, the new equipment, but there is some challenges with the salt bins moving around, so people don't know how to strap these things, and they'll tighten from the front. It actually is causing problems with the spinners. Not to get any technical details, but it'll cause an error and it'll stop. I try to encourage the drivers to actually follow instructions and listen to the training. So we'll probably have to do some retraining, because when it goes down for hours.
This is at the salt shed?
No, the actual
yeah,
salt
disperse.
on the
On the truck,
trucks.
okay.
So anyway, I'm going to restrap them.
Is that what
And
the
then-
eye hooks are for? Craig had me order a bunch of heavy
Yeah, because he's
duty
going to weld.
weld
So
the
we're
hooks
going to
in.
do we're going to do a more permanent solution, but that will still need to, he's going to have to do some additional welds. Just so you know, realize these are new trucks. They're having a few little challenges. Nothing crazy, but when they're down, they're down. And so it's just a matter of breaking them in, which these storms have been okay to do that with. There is a challenge, though, in that there's only those two trucks. There's a service truck that is probably on its deathbed, but somehow
It was working the other night. I
it
saw
continues to live.
Yeah.
At one point in time, it is going to blow up. And so that'll be a challenge, because that covers a substantial part of the city that the bigger trucks cannot cover.
And
Right.
just so you're aware, I did talk in our staff meeting with Chris the other day about leasing a new service truck capable of plowing.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
Perfect.
I got one ton.
Like we got now 350 that can be used.
It doesn't need to
first-
be anything crazy.
Yeah, like we got now, just only a new service truck that we can use in the public works during the summers as a service truck and winters for
And
plowing.
if it can be a short bed, that would be good.
Similar to the one we just sold, only with a service bed on it.
Yeah.
But that was a long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once again, they're still working. I mean, the service truck's still going. The new trucks are working well. Just working out the kinks on them, but Craig and North has been able to come up and address those and or others. There's been a few fuse
Get
issues
your
and some things.
process done at the salt shed worked out pretty good?
Eventually, my suggestion is that we remove the conveyor completely and
I
just
know we had
load.
discussed that.
We looked at starting to remove some of the blocks. It's a little challenging and well, we'll just leave it at that.
I think we came up with an idea today, so
I-
we're going to
okay.
try it. Yeah.
Does it involve TNT?
What's that?
Does it
Go
involve-
ahead.
Yeah, I think we can use our
Almost.
new loader to do it.
Yeah.
By taking the bucket off, and it's just got the
That's what
connection.
Craig said, and then hooks
Yeah.
us up to that, yeah.
And there's two holes down there where the pins go in. We can run a chain through those holes and then onto the blocks.
Because the challenge is, because I've actually tried this, just to experiment. I mean, anybody knows, so there's like when you go into the salt shed, just to kind of give you a picture of this, is a lot of the salt is to your left, but it's behind a 6-8 feet wall that you have to kind of go down and come this way. And
It's a
when
temporary wall made
yeah.
of concrete blocks stacked.
And when minutes count, when you're trying to plow and ice and stuff like that, when you're down there for a half an hour messing around, you're basically that's about 26 lane miles of road that didn't get plowed, just as a side note. So anyway, but trying to do that with a smaller piece of equipment, the challenge is you don't want these fairly heavy block coming back towards you when you're in the skid steer. Now, anyway, just some fun little things like that, just little things that work out. The new trucks are great, and people are generally treating them well. So, but the only thing for the city council and Ted is it took us a year once we ordered. And so just put it on the schedule that we probably want to be ahead of the curve this next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that we don't anyway, it was okay. It worked out. So, but
Yeah, one thing I was talking about, just for information, with this in the staff the other day, is to get these. Here was my goal, but I always get telling I'm spending too much money. The first 6 months I wasn't spending anything. I told them it's coming. We're just planning, right? And now I'm spending. Now they're getting mad at me. So it's just Janet giving me a hard time. I'm not spending out of budget. I'm staying within budgets on everything. But my thought was, if we could get a service truck now, ultimately, I think it'd be great if we could get these on a rotation every year. So we have 3 trucks that are rotating one a year. So every 3 years you're rotating through your fleet, but you're doing it 1 truck at a time every year.
and I would fully support that. And just so you guys realize, snow plowing is super hard on these trucks. There's no way around it. We could either create pristine roads that have no dips, no nothing, no little catches.
Working on that one
Yeah,
too.
'cause we're going-
That'd be perfect too. Little manhole covers that come up just a little bit when you hit those, even at like 10 miles an hour, can cause some, dentures to fall out. Anyway, just little things like that, but it is hard on them. So if we can keep them rotational, otherwise they will break down, which they have in the past. And then it's just you have a lot of people that are upset.
Yeah.
Because
The expectations, because you've been doing such a great job, they don't understand that all those little things can shut it down for a long time.
And
so-
my appreciation of Dennis Terry and what he did with a single truck that was broken at times,
Mhm.
it's pretty impressive. Now, granted, sometimes we had to walk home. And but that was the way it was. You would expect that 5 or 6 times a year, you were either going to hitch a ride with somebody who had a snowmobile
Right.
or walk home
Yep.
from the mailbox area. That was
And I-
just the way it
I actually
was.
had the opportunity to do that once.
Yeah.
I was okay with went down the hill. This was that early October storm where it was just turned to ice here 3 or 4 years ago. And one SUV had slid off the corner here and the snowplow was coming. I had about that much room on each side. Every time I tap on my brakes, I'd slide. Anyway, I made it through. But coming up the hill, there was 4 or 5 people sliding off the road. And I said, I don't have any problem getting up the hill, but I'm not gonna have anybody slide into me. So we just parked.
Well, that's the problem. There are a lot to do it. And just realize, and I think everybody might, I'm just going to say it anyway. The first people to slide are the snowplow drivers. Just because you're in a snowplow, just realize the salt is behind you.
Right.
And you're also in a pretty heavy vehicle. And a lot of times we use the weight of the blade to keep us on the road. It's just, and we've been doing it for a long time, so we kind of know, but the newer drivers will end up in the ditch. And a lot of times that's at night when people don't know that we have to pull each other out, which also causes problems. So
You
there's
lose a
also
half
the way
hour,
that
there
we,
goes another 26
Is
months.
it fence the blade or?
yes, anyway, things are going well. And we've worked out a few of the kinks. And we anticipate that with some of the additional things, we'll keep them even more operational. So
Hopefully the blocks come down here soon. We're gonna work on that. I think Zach and Toby are gonna start working on getting those
Yeah.
blocks down. I ordered 330-ish tons of salt today.
awesome.
I don't know when it's
And they
gonna
could
come
probably
yet.
dump those just by backing in and dumping.
Yeah, he's got some sort of, I guess they got like a conveyor system that takes, I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I've seen it, and there's no issue with dumping that amount there now. They
Yeah.
just would need to back in, dump, and then out.
Yeah. to make sure it
Sokolberry,
stays-
the ones who normally deliver it for us. So
right.
I ordered 10 trucks today. I think they're 33 tons a truck or something like that, he
Perfect,
said. So
So I know that we had discussed here a couple of meetings ago, you were gonna come some sort of a barrier wall that the trucks would be on one side and the loader would be on. the
We have
other.
to be somewhat careful. We'll probably have to design that, not really design it, because if we're having salt brought in, we can't really block the entrance. So I probably want to think through that as to where that might be most appropriate, but talk to maybe people that are delivering the salt. And the whole reason for that really is so that they don't
We
accidentally
protect the
bump the
equipment,
truck.
we're protecting the equipment so that the bucket can only go out so far with a load of salt in it and you would hit.
I mean, some of these guys are senile like me. You know, they get in there and.
How many snowplow drivers do we have this year?
We've got, I think, 10 active. There are some backups like Brian and others, but we are going to look at, and now with Toby on, but we'll probably look at adding a few more, just because we're probably going to start losing some, whether it's through age or some other things. Not really too bad, but there are some.
Yeah.
We just need to be refreshing that group to a degree. Because right now there is what I would call the workhorse group, which is a smaller number.
So are you actively looking for people at this
No.
moment, or you just want to keep it where it's at?
We have it where it's at, yeah.
Okay.
And part of the challenge is this, is to have somebody come in for an hour here and there is not helpful.
Right.
That does more damage than anything.
You
You
need to
just
be
don't
able
know how
take the
to,
shift.
yeah, I mean,
You gotta commit to 8 hours when you start driving.
or just, they can't say, oh, I want to come do it like 2 hours every 2 months. They're going to end up in the ditch. They're going to break stuff. It's just inevitable. They're going to back into something. And
Not enough experience.
And who's
Yeah.
coordinating this time around?
I guess myself. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because I'm trying to think through the years, you've had different people who've been the
Oh,
coordinator.
so maybe the way to think of it is I kind of get things rolling, but I have people like on each sort of shift, if you
Right.
will, that generally run that one.
Yeah.
at night, from the 6 to midnight, I have like Craig Moyer
Moyer.
do it. Just because I'm asleep, because if I have to wake up at midnight, I'm not going to stay up till midnight.
Right.
And then during the day, it's mainly John. I mean, there's a lot of communication. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of communication that goes on.
Well, everybody appreciates it.
And,
that's
you
for
know,
sure.
once again, I know this has been said enough that, we understand, but it's just, I don't feel we can say it enough. You guys do a great job. I mean, you look at the rest of the communities out there, you know, as we've all said, you know, if we can get up to the roundabout, we know we're gonna make it home. That's the- you know, that-
You know, I
into
think of
that.
that myself too. When I'm driving through and kind of knuckling it
Yeah.
to home, as soon as I'm like, okay, if I can get
Just
up
get-
to Woodland Hills, I'm going to get home.
And that's always, I think, we've mentioned that before. And you know, that's you. I mean, I know you got a lot of folks working with you, but you've been driving this since before I've been here. So again, appreciate that. I'm sure that the rest of the community appreciates that, you know, the whole group. And,
Well, and to be honest, we actually do want to make it always nice. And sometimes the storms get ahead of us, but
well, that's,
there's a certain pride element because it is, we're all neighbors, right? We want to make sure that we can all get home.
you know, our families, all of our families are driving on them.
And if we don't do that, by the way, people remind us, just so you know.
Oh, yeah, really?
Very, very quickly.
Now, I have to
Some
tune
of
them
us
out.
spend our days off talking to
Yeah.
residents who
I have to
remind us.
tune them out a lot of times
Uh-huh.
because my normal comment would be something with different foul language and go plow in the middle of the night yourself.
Yeah,
That being
and we
said-
get all the texts too. that
You know,
say,
it's
That,
all
that
good.
being said, maybe
It's all
for
good.
the discussions as with the city council, maybe they can remind everybody that, you know, hey, if these guys aren't out there, it's not because they're being complacent or anything. There's a reason they're not out there and they're trying to solve that problem. I mean, because you're,
You break a hose, just so you
Yeah.
realize, even with the new equipment,
Yeah.
there's already been hoses broken. There's already been things happen. There's already been spinners stopped. There's already been different things that happen. And
we've only
we
got
just deal with that constantly.
100 hours in this year, if that. a little
One
bit.
thing that
that.
I was wondering with regards to snow plowing, you know, for years we had a camera here at the city center that kind of showed.
Yes, we used to have cameras and I wish that they were operational.
Because that really helped. I mean, people will call us.
They're
and
coming
say-
back.
And
It helped
say,
me
can
not
you,
have to
can you let
look
us know
outside.
what it's doing outside? And I said, I'm not in town
Laying
yet
from your
either,
bed.
but
They're
think
working,
it
they're
really-
working on a link.
So that-
people, I think that really helped in terms of expectation of what the roads were going to look like.
You timed it.
And to be able to say, they're out, they're doing what they
We
can.
need that back, by the
We
way.
need
And I know
that
you guys
back.
are working on it.
Yeah, it's coming back. It's just, it's an issue with the camera updates and
Right.
trying to get
Do we
links.
know
and,
when that's coming though? Will it be for
um,
this season? Because we've been working on
Being
it.
worked on,
Yeah,
I'll
we've
put it
been
that
working
way.
on it for a long time though.
Yeah.
Last year, all the cameras worked great. I mean, those of us that were monitoring those and even the residents could look at certain cameras, but a few of us had access to a few more. They were awesome.
Yeah.
So I just feel completely hamstrung at this time.
Yeah.
But, you know, we do what we can.
Yeah, it's just let's say everything's in place. It's just now they're trying to work all the bugs out. We've got a new IT company that does now our computer security here, which conflicted with stuff the cameras were doing. And anyway, we're working it all out.
All I
It's
know is
just
working in that
Camera.
space, I have so little tolerance
Permitting.
for them not getting that up and running. I can't even tell you.
yeah,
That's just nonsense.
Yeah,
So they
you
need to
sh-
be fired or they need to do their job. I mean, I'm just gonna be
It's
brutal.
not
Yeah.
complicated.
'Cause
Yeah, it's
we-
not
We
complicated.
signed
Not for them.
contracts with them for
I-
a long time ago.
So-
yeah. This is our second camera company we've been working
Yeah.
through to try and get this done.
Awful.
Interesting thought, we were talking about the cameras, it just, something I'm just gonna throw this out there as something to think about as we move forward. You know, like Salt Lake County, for example, the state of Utah, you know, they have apps that you could actually look up and see where the snow plows are as they're, you know, driving through the county. And I realize that they're a large scale organization with a lot more budget than we have, but is that something we could?
We used to do that, but it was starting to be misused.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay.
It's,
So-
it's cameras that can be placed on public property, only showing public property and not rotating it to private property.
Yeah,
There's
no, I
some
was just
issues
thinking
there.
of an app that we could all look on our cell phones.
Well,
Oh, the
yeah,
truck's coming
GPS,
up.
not camera.
Kids, yeah. what-
You're just wanting to know. where
But
So that if I want.
No, that's what I was referring to. Actually.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
only the cameras,
Oh.
but I was referring to the GPSs. I
That was
absolutely
being
will
abused,
not
okay.
want that.
Perfect, that just, okay.
We used to, and it just got, no.
It was abused.
Okay.
Almost like weaponized against the drivers.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
we don't want that, okay.
Like, how come you haven't been on my road? Well, because it's effing blizzard out and I don't care about your road.
Just get 3 cars.
I
an
mean,
hour,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And we're on the Woodland Hills Drive and school bus routes right now.
Yeah, we do have a priority, main road, school.
We've
bus
got a
road.
priority list,
Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes if,
Okay,
Everyone's home is their first priority.
yeah, yeah.
Even if they're on a flat street and they don't go out.
Oh,
Okay.
no, they're not going anywhere.
Dave,
Yeah,
just so
that's-
you guys all know, Dave put a ton of work into our routes and when we do things and stuff like that. So understand, the Dave really deserves the credit because he's put in so much work into these plow routes and training and stuff like that for us. And making sure that Craig is helping us take care of equipment and things like that. So he does a lot. He says he doesn't, but he really does.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
We-
part of
we
it's just
know
because
that.
I like analytics, just so you know. So from a nerdy perspective, I like to optimize right turns, no backing up. I know it's kind of weird, but we tried to optimize these routes so that the trucks are just moving
it's
there.
flow.
not stopping.
I drive my wife crazy like that.
It's the
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah.
So, with that, then maybe something, one of you two, to put something in the next newsletter about the routes and how they're prioritized or something, just so
Good idea.
people know. Because I
And,
think
mean,
people,
we have a lot. We probably want to be somewhat careful, but
well, I mean,
yeah.
just an overview, right? Because I think people, I mean, when I get
It's probably not a
calls,
bad idea,
once,
just a
once I
list.
just say, well, they're doing the bus route first, and then they'll say, oh, okay. And then
And
they
on
just kinda-
Tuesdays, there's the garbage trucks.
Yes.
And,
Right, yeah,
Which
so I think
most events have been
sometimes people
Tuesday
just
and
need to.
Sunday.
You know, it's
To curse.
every year.
Last year it was all weekends,
Yeah,
but,
last year was all weekends.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, but
Every
yeah,
Tuesday morning.
it may not be bad because some people do ask the question about like, and I even, sometimes even by my house, which I understand what drivers are doing. If it's snowing heavy, it'll get one past and I had maybe 2 hours before the plow comes back in, there's 4 inches back on the road, but I understand that when it's snowing that hard, priorities are the main exits out of town and
Yep.
school routes.
Yep.
And
And we try to go by Ted's more than others. Just
yeah,
because. So
I
just
know.
think about some of the other areas.
yeah.
Well, and now that that new road's done, you guys don't have to turn around in there.
I know the plow driver that does my road and I know how often he comes.
Yeah,
Well, who's keeping score?
No, but anyway, thanks for getting the plows and putting the, because I know it just costs money. So,
How are the new blades working?
right, actually.
Oh, good. If they work out, we'll replace the other ones with them.
We did hit a manhole cover a couple times and some like
Same manhole cover.
and what are those called, the
And the,
things that you put on the bottom of the blades?
Those are the just the wear bars.
Yeah, the wear bars, now those wear out pretty significantly if they hit,
it
if they hit
depends.
stuff, right? They
They can.
wear out real
yeah.
fast.
They're the sacrificial animal. I mean,
Yep.
they're designed to break. So
But
Right.
we got some new type that we're trying. They actually work great. Actually.
Oh, good.
So-
They're segmented and they're supposed to like just a little bit with the crown of the road. So you're not
Oh.
wearing one side faster than the other.
Nice.
I'm curious to see how this works out this year with these. And they come in 12-inch segments. So if you don't have to replace, if one side wears out, you don't have to replace the whole bar.
Oh,
You can replace
nice.
the
And the cool
segments.
part with that is, let's say that over time you get new pieces, and then you just start to match the pieces that which wear over the years.
Yeah.
You can
Kind
you
of
know,
get a
build you
feel
like
for
a-
that.
Save money over time and you don't have to replace the whole blade. It's just these
Mhm.
floating segments, they call them.
I like
So-
that. Good.
And they were no more expensive than the other ones we bought.
So, Dave, thank you. Again, everybody appreciates what you do. Even the people that complain appreciate what you do. I'm sure of that.
I need 5 minutes of your time after the meeting.
So that being said, if there's no more, let's, item 7 on budget priorities for 2025. I have been in contact with Mike Taylor, the Finance Committee Chair. He actually called me today to talk about this. So what I want to kind of do is make sure that as we look at projects moving forward for the next budget year, that we identify the projects that we feel are important. And, maybe back up a little bit. In the past, we didn't have a lot of input from our staff on that. It was we were kind of just determining what needed to be done and trying to put that together. Over the last year, we've had a lot more staff input. So I think this is something that instead of us designing, it's something that could be presented to us because our staff's gonna know much better what we need than we do. I just want to make sure that whatever happens gets to the council before the council starts their budget process, which is what, February usually for you guys? And then also kind of vet it here so that we can present it to the budget council or budget committee, excuse me, and help them when they're doing, they're going to be doing the whole city's budget, but let them know this is what we need to be done, and this is probably the financial cost attached to this, but this is, what we need to bring. So, Mike wants to go ahead in the first or second week of January and start working with his budget committee to put together. I said, yeah, I'd like to maybe get something to you by then or work with you for that.
Mhm.
I don't think tonight is a good night to sit here and kind of decide what we need. So I think that one more meeting between now and the budget session, whether it be the first or second week in January, maybe we can look at putting just a budget meeting only, nothing else, just to discuss the budget that we can forward to the finance committee so they can forward that to the council.
Well, and normally too, how that works, we have kind of the base budget that Ted puts together
Yeah.
for all of Public Works that
Right.
some of it stays the same, some of it will change based on,
Fixed cost.
whatever fixed costs. And then the finance committee will see more of the capital.
And that's what we
And
want.
so we want to make sure that we're distinguishing between the two different things that we're asking for on priorities, meaning a capital project or something extra than what we normally have, because we're kind of set on that normal stuff.
Operational costs are
Yeah.
what they are. That's not something we want to get involved in, but projects, how do we move forward with, one discussion would be the Maple Canyon well. Do we talk about that? Or, where we at on water line updates, so what do we want to look at doing and discuss that? So I don't think there's more than 3 or 4 items that we really want to talk about.
Yeah, and I'd be curious, just from the committee's perspective, where to place the importance. For example, are water lines more important? Are roads more important? What do we look at prioritizing as far as our focus on public works?
Right.
And that's a good point. On the, water line and roads usually go hand in hand. It's hard to do one without the other. So then that's something we need to look at.
Or stormwater, we got basins and runoff to
Rotating
deal
of
with.
the
and-
trucks for
So
snowplow. I mean, those,
I would propose
those things.
that maybe on a January meeting, that we kind of just make that a budget-only review.
Could we also have a list of things that are already
Yeah.
We presented projects 4 or 5 years and some of them have gotten done, some of them haven't. We can go back and we can look at that list and see what needs to be done. The biggest thing on that has always been the water and the well. And then Loafer Drive were really the big 3 that we've been dealing with over the years. So I think a lot of that we can reevaluate, take some of that off of there and see what else we need to put on there. One thing about Public Works, there's always another project.
well, and after the road assessment that you just did and knowing where
So-
where.
How many of you read your TED Talk?
I did.
What?
Yeah, I did.
I thought you guys just
I
looked forward to
sure
that.
did.
Yeah, every day.
And I think that will influence too where the priorities are in terms of roads, right? And then I don't think a lot of people realize how bad the water delivery system is, right? We're working on the well, we have the water. Now it's delivery system that we're trying to make sure is safe, and it does cost money because you're tearing up the road and then they get upset that the road's not fixed. But it's 2 different budgets that need to come together.
So anyway, that would be what I would propose, is that we just make the next meeting and again, January, I think we
And how we
Like that, too.
prioritize them and
start prioritizing.
what
so we
budget should we
forward
be
that
spending?
To the finance committee or hold a joint meeting.
And
with-
that where maybe good to involve them is if we're talking January about prioritization of projects, we can look at the capital budgets and say, here's typically on a year what we can spend on these. How do we prioritize the money? For example, in fact, Thursday, we're opening the bids for the microcell project we're going to do in the spring, that 4 miles. Because if you don't get those guys on board now, you won't get them come spring.
Right.
So we're opening that bid Thursday, which is going to do that 4 miles of microcell. But there are several other roads out there that need a lot of work. And I can share the pavement management plan with any of you if you want to see it. It's an AI technology using online.
You did show us that.
Oh, okay. So,
No.
It's a good
so
point to
you've seen
look
it.
at
So
if you're
maybe we need to start prioritizing roads. Which roads should we focus on and which projects should we focus on
Yeah.
out of this pavement management plan? The first one we're doing is micro seal because as Nate knows with pavement management, you don't start with your worst road first because you're going to be wasting money. You try and save the good ones so they're going to last longer and then deal with the bad ones last. So what roads? So we've got a group that fits in this pavement preservation, this micro seal we're doing. It's like $500,000 worth of work. We got another small group that is, was it mill and fill? Might have been some mill and fill. And then we've got, there's a huge bucket for road
Total replacement.
replacement.
But couldn't we just use that?
Use it.
And then based upon budget.
Yeah, and that's why
Yeah.
that's why because so we've got like $3 million worth of road replacement, right? Obviously, we can't spend all that in 1 year. Can't do all this in 1 year. So which priorities, where do we place our road priorities? You know, is it, do we do, quarter of Maple or do we focus on these roads? And this is where it'd be great to get public or the public works committee input, because then as we work with the community, then we can say, hey, this came from a joint decision and through the public works.
Just those little repairs.
Good.
Yeah.
Fix that. It's maybe one side.
Sweet. And we'll keep doing those on those roads until we can get to the point of replacement. But just going through the plan and figuring out, okay, how do we prioritize these $3 million worth of roads? Not the type of work, but the reconstruction, the ones that require full rehab. How do we prioritize them? Because we can't do them all in 1 year. And then do we do water with them? And how do we do water? And look, because we got what, $8 million worth of water lines to do, and we got $4 million worth of road work to do. And it's like, how do we prioritize
So
all this?
next meeting, we bring those things together and we start chiseling away at there.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
And,
I think
and
that
the
would be-
finance committee, we did a meeting with the finance committee last April.
And do one and have them invited maybe to help figure out,
Or when will
okay,
or do they meet the next day?
He's
too?
talking,
So-
when I talked to him today, he wants to have some discussion with Chris and with Ted. That he wants to get some items lined up so he can present his stuff. So, or, to his committee. So he wanted some information. He was trying to get for some folks. And he's talking about the first or second week in January. Now, the thing is, the second week in January, we like to do it on the first Tuesday so that anything that we want to present can be talked about like staff meeting tomorrow, so they can be put on the budget or on the, not the budget, but on the council agenda for a week. That's kind of why we've done it the way we've done it, so we can get it onto the council.
Well, and the council will meet on the 14th of January, so
So the
we
thir-
could
Tuesday
have
the
it, the
13th.
so we could have it on Monday, the 13th,
Monday the 13th, that will,
to have our joint meeting. It would only give us one day
But
before council,
now,
but
the challenge with that is, are you able to get it on the,
could you have it the week
agenda.
before?
so that's
The
why we always
7th?
like to have it
the
the week
6th,
before.
well, the 6th would be the Monday before.
What, the
The
6th would work?
6th.
We usually have it on a Tuesday, don't we? Public
Oh.
Works
We
Committee.
have them on Tuesday, yes, so.
I was, yes,
that
it
way-
is
That way it
Tuesday,
allows
the
us to
7th.
get on the agenda for the following week.
Mhm.
So, I would say that, and I'll
How
go
about
ahead.
January 1st?
Do
Start off this new year right in a Public Works Committee. I would call it a workshop too, just so people plan on knowing.
Yeah,
what
there you go.
Yeah.
So, and I'll talk with Mike and see if he wants to do a joint thing or if he just wants us to relay our material to him. Because I know he likes to do.
Input from the finance committee.
Yeah, that's what I was,
Okay.
counterproductive. is what you're saying?
Counter.
So, okay,
They
I'm so
keep
sorry.
kiboshing everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, they can certainly, I think.
Here's our priorities. Now you guys figure out how to pay for them.
Input while we're- especially-
Yeah.
Good point. So
Well-
I think then the
But
best,
listening, I think is fine.
Yeah.
Taking notes.
Or maybe we come
Is
up
that
with,
what you were talking about?
here's the priorities. You guys figure out how to budget these priorities.
well, I mean, that's the thing. We, sure, the public works is a significant amount of the budget, but it's not the entire budget. So,
Yeah, I just wouldn't, while we're trying to have those discussions, have them.
okay, yeah. I'll work with Mike and see how he wants to do this. I think he would prefer probably just to do it as a separate committee, his, with our input, so we can forward it and maybe.
Listening to it and then be,
Yeah.
you know, there.
Maybe he could come to our meeting and whoever's chairman next year can, go to that meeting, go to their meeting. So anyway, I'll focus on getting something for the January, did you say it was?
7th.
7th, first.
Is the
first,
Tuesday,
First Monday and then.
first Tuesday.
Go from there. So
Tuesday.
Yeah, first Tuesday, January 7th.
January 7th. Sounds good. Then, item number 8, if there's nothing else, new chairperson. I agreed to do it for a year when we redid this because I wanted to let all the new folks kind of get settled in a little bit. So I think starting next year, I wouldn't mind somebody else, if they're interested, looking at taking over as chairman. So it's something to think about. Everybody's looking at you, Nate.
Wait a minute.
So if somebody else is interested.
Yeah, we all.
If somebody else is interested. Okay, 1, 2, 3, not it. If somebody else is interested,
That's my cue to
I'm
go
not
home.
going to feel bad if somebody else wants to do the job.
It's not.
Yeah, I think Nate would be
I-
great.
Oh, great.
I don't get a vote, but I think Nate, you'd be
See, I
great.
didn't vote either.
I'm happy to do whatever.
Okay. So
Do what you feel like you have time for. We don't want to burn
That's
you out.
good.
Oh, there's never time.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
No, it's not, how much more is it really?
well, you can, you can push the staff. That's kind of like pushing a rope to kind of help you. So,
Well, I wrote you down as the new chairperson, so I think you should vote.
I don't know that we want to do it tonight.
It says election of, it's on the agenda, that's an action item.
Who are we missing from this?
That's an action item.
Paul,
Probably not good.
No.
I say just do it because then this gives them a little
well,
bit of time
we should
to.
probably ask if you're willing to do it.
I'm
first
willing to do
before-
it.
There you go.
Come here.
Is that
It is a
something-
big deal. It's not a burden necessarily.
It's, yeah, it's,
Just gotta
And
get
if
the
I suck at
agenda.
it, someone else will have to do it, so.
For a year.
Yeah,
I think no one will be saying you suck at it because they just know they're not sitting in your seat, so.
okay, so, how do you want to do this? Do we want to make an election tonight and then effective, January?
You guys
motion.
already.
Okay.
kind of-
but just make a motion.
I'll make a motion to elect Nathan Pack as the new chairperson for the Public Works Committee.
I don't know if I can second that or not.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I know,
Yeah.
just the 3 of them are the voting members.
Yeah, we're the only ones.
I think you have to second it.
I second.
You second it for yourself.
I don't know how that works. Anyway, I think without objection, how's that?
Yeah.
I did, yeah, okay.
Okay, so, I'll go ahead and work with you and just get through this, next meeting and then, starting in January,
Sounds good.
it's all yours.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna have to, I'm supposed to have your phone number, but I'm not sure I do, so I'll go ahead and get that contact information from you. And, yeah, it's not that tough. It's just a matter of, now we've got staff that's pretty good at taking care of things for us prior to.
I don't mind talking to
We have, yeah, we get sick of listening to you.
He has to a lot anyway.
So, in the past, before we had Ted on board, it was a lot more labor intensive in that position.
I imagine.
So not so much anymore. Okay, well, congratulations. And like I said, I'll look at getting the transfer over to you and then for next month.
Okay.
Okay, next meeting date, I think we kind of already confirmed that. That's going to
December
be
7th.
January 7th.
I said December.
There's one other items I wanted to.
Monday.
You're gonna make me look now, guys.
It's Tuesday, the 7th of January. I have this meeting reoccurring forever on the
Okay, so-
first Tuesday.
All right.
so
Yeah, I do too. It's already on my calendar.
there you go.
Okay, oh, that's what I want, just one more item, real quick. With Salem City, we have just basically put off any discussion on the well until after this project is done, correct? on the Maple Canyon? Or is there more?
With Salem City, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question.
Yeah, you do.
You asked the right question.
Yes, there is,
Yeah.
yes, there is more talk. Okay. Okay.
I have not had any further discussions with Salem City about it.
Perfect. Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sounds good.
I'll make a
That's not an
motion.
official, like,
I'll,
response, I don't think.
I'll make a
Sounds
motion
good.
to adjourn the meeting.
8 o'clock. Okay,
I've got 9 kids to get to bed.
Wait.
They're all
So
up.
we need to keep the meeting going longer, is what you just said? You
No,
agreed to a
it means
motion?
I,
I got 2 dogs to walk. 30, 'cause then I let them walk.
Oh, yeah.